Welcome to this session where today we shall be talking about concept note. And the concept note, as I said in the other lecture, it is very important. When you know the importance of preparing the concept note, if you find yourself, you are coming up with a good idea and you know you have to develop the concept note, then this is the session you have to listen for. With this session, you're going to understand how to write a concept note from the planning point of view. You don't have any way to convince people. You don't have any way to convince donor or any other financial institutions that your idea is worthwhile doing it. And with a good beginning of the project, we start with concept. And it is only at this stage you need to design your dreams. Make sure you have a proper concept note. Now, as I said, if you're planning for projects, you will realize projects are coming from ideas. And ideas are coming from streets, coming from community, visiting friends, our homes, problems. But it is the problem. It is where you can discover so many projects. We asking ourselves where the project is coming from. Where this project came from. We don't have a simple answer to this one. But when you look at project planning and management, suggests that projects start as an elementary idea, then it keep on going, growing, and it becomes a project. So as a planner, you need to sit down and understand you must have ideas. You must have a proper plan from the idea. The concept note, it is the point of reference. It is the point where you find you have to refer who designed the project, how this idea, how this project was formulated, how was this idea formed? Was it a committee discovered the project? Was it an individual discovered the project? Was it a company? Was it a government? Was it a non-profit making organization discovered? Who was the champion? So you need to know and appreciate all those stages when it comes to preparing the project concept note. I have been explaining a lot regarding how project idea can be formulated. I don't want to repeat that one again, but what I want you to do today is you should know that ideas for project should start early and do not wait until it is too late. Then you start initiating a project. while it is too late. So you should know that. Don't be too late to go for projects. Go for projects. Go for projects. But when you go for projects, you need not to forget some steps that you should be taking, because it will cost you in the future. There must be some cost that you find yourself at the end of the day, you will have to pay if you jump one step. Let me not go back to what I said in the other session. Once the idea has been generated through examining government policies or the customer needs that falls within the problems, then you're coming up to this session where you find you have to prepare a concept note. This is very important session. Very important session. Because at this point, it is the point for reference and identification. It is the point where you have to refer stages. How did you discover the project? Did you involve the committee? And this is where, before you give full feasibility study or the so-called the needs assessment, this is the early stage for you to undertake. So a concept note, this is just a brief expression of your project ideas. You explain the idea. You explain the idea. Your idea must be good. If it is farming, describe the farming. What do you want to farm? Is it maize? If you want to go for maize, then describe the maize. Where are you going to farm? Why do you find it is worthwhile for you to go for that idea? How have you identified that this idea is worthwhile doing? And therefore, the concept note is a reference point. This is what I can say from planning point of view. So you need to open up a file, you keep the documents, and you have to tell everybody. You have to show your people, your stakeholders who have interest in that idea. You can sell the idea. You can, but the idea again, do not expose much, because ideas, people don't have idea. When you expose idea, it is finished. Some people may come and steal your idea. But remember, you are the only one who is dreaming for that project. Concept note is very important. Even for donors, concept note is very important to donors. Concept note is very important to planners. Concept note is very important to government, to any other institution. So take time to develop this idea and put it on a piece of paper where you will be writing. And in some cases, if you are going for a non-profit making activities, you'll find some donors, they may require the concept note before you go to the actual planning of the project write-ups and so on. And therefore, if it is well written, this can be the basis for negotiations to undertake further steps and the planning for projects. What should be the size? The size, you're not supposed to write so many pages, but it may depend with the other financial institutions or the donor. There are some other donors may require their specific pages. So, but it should be going to the maximum of 4 pages, maximum of 4 pages. It's going to be 2 pages, it's going to be 3 pages, it's going to be 4 pages maximum. You don't need to write much because this is just a concept. When we talk about the concept note, it's very important. It is important for those individuals who are seeking funds. If you are looking for funds, if you want donor to give you funding, go for concept note. Well, this is not very important for financial institutions, but it is important. Those people who tend to screen projects, they may ask you, do you have any concept? We want to see, how did you found the project? How was this project found? Who was the founder? So all these will be explained when you give out your concept note. And the concept notes gives a framework for the idea. Okay, so it gives a framework for idea where they are organized on the piece of paper. And remember, it is also the first expression of the projects, and it gives you flexibility for the organization to work. Therefore, it is important. What should be the key elements when you're writing to this concept? What should be the content? What should be the content then? As usual, the following should be the key contents. Number 1, you must have a project title in front of your page. Then identify the project title, the name itself, okay? And therefore, this is very important. The title is as usual, just the title, the way you write. And also, you can have different title. For example, I can say my title, my project title is Support for Orphanage. Support for Orphanage in Arusha. Okay. Another title can be Bridge Construction Project in Nonde. Okay. So it can be any type of the title, but you have already discovered by yourself. You see, discovered by the committee, discovered by the company, and so on. So it's very important for you to take note. And also, you need to understand, explain the location. What is the location of this project? Where do you think this idea is going to be? What is the duration? What is the duration of the project? This is just, and then you'll have the background idea. The background of the idea. So here you will describe in detail, but it should be brief because it's maximum 4 pages, so you don't go too much writing. So the background of the idea, you must provide background in a brief, explain here how you went about preparing the project concept, who developed, and details of organizations being involved, you see, what you saw on the ground, you see, and so many other issues. Did you hold any other meetings? Did you hold any other meetings when formulating this idea? How many people were involved in that meeting? You need to capture them, be part of the plan, because especially if you go for bigger projects, because bigger project or public project, that project is not for yourself. It's not of your mother, it's not of your father. So you must describe that the ownership of the project is not yours. It's not yours, but how was it formed? It is the committee formed that. It is a group of people who formed that. So it is through that meeting, then it is where you rubber stamp and you clearly write the minutes, and these minutes, of course, will be part of the attachment in the same document. So it must be described in the background of the idea. It's very important. Otherwise, you will not get funding, because most donors are interested to see whether is it a personal project or is a public project or community project and so on. So you must describe policy and linkage to the sector, as I said another time. You must describe this one, and therefore this is the place you write it properly, and you make quotations from different publications and sectors, so that it demonstrates linkage to the sector at the early stages. Another stage that we are looking at when developing the concept is the nature of the problem and the consultation. The nature of the problem and the consultation. What is the problem? So in here, you need to show the evidence of the problem itself. Why this problem exists? Why is it existing? Okay, possible way to address the problem. This is just the rationale, okay? And you see, what are the good practices that are required for these projects? Okay, and also, what are the target groups? Which methodology you have applied to find out the problem? Is it through discussion? How did you consult people? It's through interview, through survey, and so on, through phones, emails, and so on. All these are consultations. How did you get that one? So you describe the problem in details, the cause, the effects, issues, disguise there. Cause-effect issues you discuss there. If you have not done the consultation, then explain the intention of doing so. Because it has some cost implications, so you must explain why you want to do consultation. If you phone by yourself, then you think you want to do consultation. Consultation is expensive, so you have to prepare a simple budget, demonstrate, I want to go and consult people and examine the extent of the problem to establish the cause-effect relationship and coming up with the core problems. So all these will be reflected in your budget. And what I was saying, this is very important stage, because you will have to link your problem with the national development goals and plans, sector plans, showing how are you going to link your problems with all those sectors of the economy. It is important. Otherwise, you will not get funding. And another section is, what are the requirements to improve the situation? Requirements to improve the situation. What is required to improve the situation? When do you expect to start the project? So, another point is, you write down objectives. What are the objectives? The overall objectives must be described in line with your project. So it must be rough. It must be rough objective, because now you haven't done anything and you are not perfect about planning. So these should be rough. The project concept note is a rough plan, rough documentations. You know, you are trying to show some expression about your project idea. So you cannot be perfect about writing objectives, and so on. And therefore, when writing the objective, it will depend on how you have discovered the problem itself. You need also to come up with some specific objectives, if any, so you will do that one. It's very important. What are the strategies? What are the strategies that you think are also important to come up with? So most planners will describe some strategies, and after that, you'll go for activities. You'll go for activities, and then after activities, you'll also demonstrate target groups. What are the target groups, you see, and so on. And also, after that, you will go for budget. You go for budget where you will explain your cost. You'll also explain your revenue, and generally, it should be in a rough picture, because you don't have much detail regarding the budget. So you explain your budget based on how do you see the next plans, like carrying the needs assessment or conducting the feasibility study. And therefore, it is important for you to have that. Is that okay? If you have any question, please, you may contact me anytime that when you feel you should contact me. Thank you very much. I wish you the best and enjoy your time. But before I say this, the last, you will need to have a checklist. Before a checklist, you will need to have conclusion and a recommendation. Conclusion and a recommendation. What are you recommending based on the idea? So you have conclusion and recommendation. Thank you. Enjoy your time. Meet you next time, okay? Thank you.